We're ready whenever you are.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. The time is 3:18 p.m. And I'm going to call this meeting of the Western Sierra Charter School Board of Directors to order. Let's have a roll call to establish a quorum, please.
Jason Smith.
Here.
Ian Whitney.
Here.
Lisa Pasowski. Here. Cody Gates.
Here.
And Mary Knoll.
Okay, sounds like we have a quorum, so we'll move on to.
Could I speak to Mary's absence?
Of course.
So Mary reached out to me yesterday, and just to share, she said I could share this. Her father-in-law passed away, and so she is just tending to her mom. She's spending the night with her mom these last couple of days, attending to her. So she sends her regards, and you can think of Mary and her mom.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. Our thoughts are certainly what's doing this. Let's move on to number 3, and that is to approve the board meeting agenda for today. We're going to have a chance to look over the agenda. Like there aren't any additions or amendments today. Okay, then I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the agenda.
Jason Smith, I'll move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Lisa Pasowski, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to number 4, that's to approve the minutes from the April 8th, 2025 meeting. I believe that was our special meeting.
That was a regular meeting.
Was that a regular meeting? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the special meeting the week before.
Okay. All right, never mind then. So I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the meeting from the April 8th, the minutes from April 8th. Excuse me.
Jason Smith, I'll move to approve.
I hear a second.
Cody Gates, I second the motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, the motion passes. Item number 5, hearing of persons wishing to address the board. Do we have anybody wishing to address the board? No. Seeing none, do we have any written communication?
No.
Okay. In that case, we'll move on to the approval of warrants from April 2nd, 2025 to May 8th, 2025. Jody, is there anything to highlight on this?
Not really, I looked through it, there's nothing particularly unusual. I mean, there's always interesting things in there, but nothing that really warrants a shout out. But obviously, always open to questions.
Give everyone just a minute to look through if they haven't had a chance prior to the meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the warrants from April 2nd, 2025 to May 8th, 2025?
Jason Smith, I'll move to approve.
Do we hear a second?
Lisa Pasowski, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, the motion passes. Moving on to number 8, that is a public hearing for the 2024-2025 local control accountability plan.
So as you're passing those out, Nancy, so this is Grace Reeves. One of her assignments is providing direction and oversight of our LCAP process. And so this is a result of a lot of people's work, but with Grace really steering it. Grace's mom. I'm not sure of the status, but Grace isn't here because her mom was intubated a few days ago, and we heard they were pulling her off of that. So at this point, don't know the condition that she may be passed. So obviously with that, I was allowed to share those things also. With that, Grace is not able to be here, so Nancy is going to walk us through, and so it's kind of with a public hearing, we sort of symbolically gavel down, right? And Nancy, if you want to lead us through the summary of these LCAPs.
Okay, so the goals for the 24-25 school year are the same as the 25-26, and for all three schools. The first part of the document shows all three goals, and I'm just gonna summarize each goal a little bit, just to give you an idea, but I know that you received the full documents, the full outcomes. So goal 1 has to do more with our program, which includes personalized learning, class offerings, assessments, ongoing staff professional development, and college and career readiness. Goal 2 has to do with providing a safe and clean, healthy school environment, and so that's more with janitorial services, building grounds maintenance, school campus safety, building modifications, and social and emotional supports. The items in blue, the things I'm listing out, those are a part of the actions. So I just summarized the actions under each goal with the blue font. And goal 3 has to do with the school providing opportunities for our educational partners, the word used to be stakeholders. So educational partners, which include parents, students, staff, community members, and organizations. And that includes parent trainings, school-wide communication, educational partner engagement, and community engagement opportunities for our students. So all those 3 goals worked well for our previous LCAP and will continue forward into our 25-26 school year as well. The only new thing to highlight here is that although it's not a new action, we do have a little bit more of a focus on one of our actions listed the second portion. And it is also WSCS aligned, which is always nice. All the actions remain the same with this new focus of providing 7th through 12th grade students with grade appropriate college and career readiness guidance to increase student preparedness for college and post-high school success. So we as a school, as an organization, are committed to emphasize and put greater effort in this action. This was also the outcome of a variety of student data, student parent surveys, and LCAP focus groups, as well as all the work we did with WSCS. And so I just wanted to highlight that this particular action has a greater focus this upcoming year.
So Nancy, if I recall, the change in this action, the addition really is our consideration on what our appropriate college career guidance, what are we going to be providing in terms of guidance to lower grade levels? So what we've always had 9 through 12, and so now we're wanting to bring in a certain amount of guidance and information for 7th and 8th grade as well. And so we don't necessarily have that all fleshed out, exactly what that's going to be, but that's what we're going to be focusing on. Am I correct there, Nancy?
That is correct, yes. And adding those grade levels to the college and career guidance for our students. And as an outcome, that's helping prepare students better, the middle school students better to transition to our high school program. And then just a few highlights from our student and parent surveys. One, it has to do with student and the school climate. All 3 schools report a high percentage of students rating their experiences as satisfactory or above on key measures of school climate. Specifically, 95% or more of students feel safe on campus with other students. The percentages are averages from all our schools. 100% of students at each school feel safe on campus with staff. I think that's a big celebration for students to feel safe. And in that magnitude, 100%, that's amazing. And finally, between 95 and 99% of students among the 3 schools feel welcomed, valued, and connected to others in their school community. Huge, huge highlight for our 3 schools in this area. In the area of parent support and engagement, all 3 schools demonstrate a high percentage of satisfactory or above responses from parents on key engagement indicators. Specifically, 100% of parents report a strong sense of support from the school, and 100% feel they are invited and given opportunities to engage in school decision-making and culture building, which is what our mission and vision are all about, for parents to be involved, and they do feel involved and encouraged. So those are great highlights from our most recent student and parent surveys. And in addition, just as a quick highlight from our focus groups, we heard, and this is a summary of all the notes we took for those focus groups, but strengthening the middle school to high school transition and early college and career readiness. There's a summary below that speaks to what we're talking about in our area of our focus. It's exactly what we're addressing. And then positive growth and support, academic counseling and enrichment improvement. Parents, students, and staff you have said how they have seen our program improve all the schools, and especially in the areas of class offerings, expanded guidance support, and more math instruction was mentioned as one of those meetings. They also expressed appreciation for the flexible curriculum and enthusiasm for the new sports program. So this is just a summary of the document that you have. I don't know if there's any questions. Just wanted to give you guys an overview of the LCAP.
If I could say something, just the budget isn't on the joint document yet. You have 3 of those because we haven't made one yet. But so once we have them, there'll be a preliminary one today. You already saw one last time with you. Today at the next board meeting, the budget will be on this document, as well as we'll approve it. And so that's how it sort of has to go. Otherwise, right, just keep putting a bunch of.
You veteran members may recall that our annual budget ties out exactly to the LCAP. So.
And
It's a little misleading to start with preliminaries and then they all switch, and then it's like, let's just start with one at the end, yeah.
And I know you have all 3 LCAPs, but they're essentially the same. I think with a minor action change with our endeavor as we follow Fresno Unified's template or request, something minor.
Right, to be precise, they are the same in regards to goals. As far as data response, in regards to survey data and things like that, they obviously express local survey for that school. But as far as what the goals are and largely the actions, they are the same.
Well, thank you, Nancy. Any questions or any comments from any board members? Do we need to do anything else to close out the hearing?
Other than declare it closed, I think that's it.
In that case, I'll go ahead and declare the public hearing closed. Moving on to number 9, this is an information item, which is to preview the current 2024-2025 budget update and presentation of preliminary budgets for the upcoming year. Joe.
Okay, I'm going to share here. Okay. That's what I'm going to stand up because this goes a little while and I just want to be able to point to things. I think it works better if I just use this facing toward me.
Sorry, that's my fault.
I'm so excited.
Sorry. There we go.
Okay, all right. So this is a synopsis of all the stuff you have. I tried to put it into some bullet points here just to give you a better idea. And I want, if at all possible, please ask questions whenever you want, because there's a lot going on with 3 schools and 2 different offices of authorizers. But so first of all, the most recent COLA projection from the LCFF calculator is 2.3%. That's down from 2.43%, not much, right? That's pretty little. The budget scenario in the state, as you know, is a little up in arms as it is, as it is in the country right now. But the LCFF calculator is updated with the most recent projections, and they're still coming in at 2.3%, which is great. I'm very excited about that because it could be 0 at this point. But it looks like, I was just reading the budget again today, the May revised comes out this Friday. So we'll hear more about that soon. So we're just before that. But at this point, all the projections, there's going to be a budget deficit for sure. But that seems mostly related to the undocumented workers getting Medicaid, Medi-Cal coverage. That's a structural deficit that's in the budget. So we're not sure how that will be adjusted, if that'll hit schools or if they'll go at that particular issue or what. But there have been times in the past when we've had issues like this, and the governor has expressed the schools were going to be would share in some of the cuts, but not the brunt of the cuts. So it's hard to say. So that might be why we still show COLA at this point. Not really sure. But I did do a projection both with the normal LCFF 2.3 and 0, as you'll see later on, so we could see where it'll be coming up. Enrollment for each school is up this year. Mountain Home up 41 to 255 from 214 last year. That's our projection. You know, it could change, but that's what we're looking at, 90% increase. Glacier up 12 to 95 from 83, a 14.5% increase. And then Endeavor up 16 to 355 from 339. That's a 5% increase. But it usually hovers around the zone of 350, 345. So, but it is up over last year. That's 11% up over the prior year, this current year, and 69 students up. So that's nice. That's a good thing to see. And so revenues are up. Mountain Home 18.5, Glacier 16.8, and Endeavor 7.4. So they're different increases in enrollment. And expenses are up, of course. Mountain Home 8.3, Glacier 10.9, and Endeavor 3.1. But you'll see the expenses are up less than the revenue. So that's what you want to see if possible. Net revenues over adjusted expenses. So what I did is I went through the expenses and took out the building stuff. And so just looked at normal operating expenses. So when you look at that, the net revenues over expenses, adjusted expenses, are up from the current year. Mountain Home is showing 410,000 positive, Glacier 33,000, and Endeavor 404,000. So that would be going into the reserves. And okay, and if now, so what if the COLA from the state is 0 rather than 2.3%? It changes the net revenues over expenditures down to 343,000 for Mountain Home, Glacier about $5,000, and Endeavor 306,000. We've talked about Glacier being always like a break-even situation, and even with 0, it still breaks even. So that's nice. So the next thing you'd always wonder is when we're operating is reserves. Where are our reserves at? Mountain Home has $2,185,000 in reserves at 81%. 81% means it can survive 81% of the year without any money and still make it through. So 100% be a whole year of expenditures. So 81% there, Glacier 41%, so 40% of the year, and Endeavor almost 50%. So those are nice, healthy reserves. The requirement is 5%, which is of course ridiculous. No one actually operates at 5%. I mean, there's a lot of people, well, businesses, but a lot of people are paycheck to paycheck. But if you had 5%, that would be paycheck to paycheck. So, it's not very much in a given, but that is the requirement. So we're way over that, so that's nice. We're getting some new staff positions. Mountain Home is adding 2 teachers. That's to account for the growth in the enrollment in ADA. Glacier is getting a 0.2% increase, so we're getting one of our teachers who is 0.8 is leaving in, a full-time is coming. And then Endeavor has 1 new teacher coming on board. Okay, so brings us down to an interesting thing. So this year, if you remember, we over the years, we have COVID, ever since COVID and a little before COVID, we've had lots of salary increases based on all the different COVID-related monies that were coming through that were going to school systems, and now those are gone. But at the same time, inflation went up. COLAs were high, inflation was high, and we were trying to match, but we never did match. We always stayed behind the curve every time because we never knew. By the time the COLA actually came out, just like this year, we're going to have to make a budget before we know what it is. But anyway, so the problem I had to solve, so as we went through, we did a salary market analysis. And the biggest issue is we have a competitive disadvantage when it comes to our salary people. So I wanted to adjust that more significantly this year, but I because of all the difficulties with the uncertainty in the budget, I decided like a 2% would be good. At least it's not much, but it's not too much to make it difficult. But also, even then, it wasn't enough to give everybody across the board an adjustment. So what we did is we looked, and it looks like our I can show them. I'm going to move on. Our hourly employees. Share this next down. Should be in the second. Yes. This guy. So Holly did this for me and helped me out with all this because she is HR after all. So I just want to give you an idea of what this is trying to show. So this is 2019-20. Okay, first of all, so this is all the staff on both of these boxes. But the first one is showing salaried staff, and the second one is showing the hours. Okay, classified, basically mostly certificated and classified. So, and then has annual pay schedule adjustment. So this includes the 2% I'm saying this year, okay? Then it accumulates that augmentation to see what we did over the last 7 years. And then it shows the COLAs that we got. It accumulates those. The COLAs meaning the LCFF COLAs that came from the state. And then we have annual inflation. And then we compare what we've done versus those numbers, okay? So if we include this 2%, we did 17% augmentation to the salary schedule for over the last 7 years in total. The COLAs accumulate to 33%. So that was a really huge period of time for COLAs, remember, because all this money was coming through. 13.26, for example, in 1 year. That's quite a bit of it, but 5 and 13 and 8. During that period, we were doing 5%ers to catch up. And then with annual inflation, look at that. Did anyone realize it? 26% inflation over the last 7 years? Probably felt it. But that's pretty impressive. And actually, it's still showing about 2 to 3% right now. So for whatever reason, it's still good. Not sure. So this is a comparison here versus the COLAs. The salaried people are 16.3% below that. And then versus inflation, 9.2% below that. That same thing looking at the hourly people. You'll also recall that the minimum wage went up $1 a year, basically every year. And that was sort of embedded in ours. Every time we would go for the lowest, we would augment our schedule for the salary, the hours. And then we stopped doing that when we started the schedule that exists now, the schedule you see in there. But we did do the augmentations. So here's the effect of the dollar increase every year back here. And here's just the 5%. I didn't double those. I took those out and just showing this. Oops, I touched it. And then I'm showing 0 here as a result of this. So the accumulated increase over here is 40% over the last 7 years. That versus the COLAs, and this is the comparison synopsis down here in the bottom. So that's why when I was trying to figure out, okay, we have just a little bit of funds and we want to deal with our competitive disadvantage. So it looks like what we'll have to do is just do 2% for the salaried and 0 for the cost. Except for a few minor, well, a few little bits of change here. Let's go to the schedule. What that means is this is the new schedule. Basically, it's just 2% in every box, not 200 over what it used to be. So every one of these, it's still in the same. There's still the same separation between each of the cells, and the longevity stayed the same. The one thing that also changed is this certificated adjunct teachers receive $39.36 an hour, and that's 2% more than it was on the last schedule. Oh, there. I forgot I had one sheet. Here's classified. So it's staying the same in this area. The two things that changed is the non-credentialed instructional went up 2%, And the lead position got an extra $1 added to the, it should say $2.50, so there were 2 adjustments on that one, but other than that, that schedule staying the same.
Again, because that was already augmented year by year in the prior, and it's
Over compared to.
right compared to
Competition rather than.
right compared to the salary.
Yeah. And we showed that we were very competitive there. And here's the. Okay.
And this is all in your packet.
Yeah, it's on the packet. I just want to highlight it. So this is administrative and support staff. So what this is, it has been adjusted, but only in 9 and 10. We have eight steps currently. What I'm proposing is 10, because that actually correlates to the average school system. And we should, that means over 8 years, you'd have moved up that, and then you'd be at the end. So making it more normalized at 10, that would be what that's what I'm proposing. And then here, the adjustment goes from 4% to 2% from 8 to 9 and 9 to 10. So it slows down at the end to equate to the 2% that I'm talking about. We can always adjust that later, but for now, it seems like it makes the most sense just to give it a 2. But that's the, and it says 2% increase for added steps 9 and 10. So that was we've been heading in that direction to like make our system as close to the school districts. Okay, well, yes, it's still a little separate, keeping the page together for some reason. I don't know how that happened. This little guy right here. But, and then for the executive director and the chief business officer, same thing. It goes to 9 and 10 with a 2% in 9 and 10. So that's the schedules. Now I want to, I'm going through all this now so that when you get to it on the agenda, you'll be ready to go with the motions that might happen. This, we're required to do an executive management for Mike, basically the executive director. Every time there's a change, we're supposed to do a market analysis, and this is it. So basically the yellow part here is highlighting what it is. We tried to do comps here, Yosemite and Mariposa Unified, because they're not as huge as Fresno Unified. So we're trying to find an analysis of like similar schools. And then we did a California statewide average also and added that in. And so where this comes out is when you do a statewide average, it's an average of their ranges as well. So I included it as an average rather than, as a total in the Freeport average, just to bring down the number. Do you know what I mean? These are particular points in time for those schools, so they don't have ranges. Because they're really hard to find those if you look, because you're usually in closed session and you talk about it, it's really hard to find it in the minutes. But this is a projection of what I believe it is as of today. And then I use a statewide average just to make sure that, that it looked like it was normal. So that came up with a comparative average of 195. Relatively speaking, we have the low and the high. The average here, we have the bottom. So here's the comparative average, 195 from there. Here's the bottom of hours. There's the top of hours and the average 169. If you look at those compared, they're either the average is right on, but the bottom is way low and the high. The average is low, the top is right at it, and the bottom is quite low. Does that make sense? And then this is mine as well. It wasn't required, but I wanted to show that as well. So went through, did the same stuff. Bottom average 126, high average 173, range average here is 149, which means it's within those ranges. It's below that as well. So please ask questions as you go. So when we get to Mike's discussion of that salary, you can see that we've already done the required part of that. So now.
And that's also, that's all in your packet.
Yeah. I can see this. Now, I know this is a lot to absorb here. Now we're up to here. Almost here. Tell me that. Okay. Yeah, good. I don't know why. If it was, I'm just trying to share this. Oh, you know what, it might be so. It sort of disappeared.
If you're sharing just this one screen,
Yeah, so see, it's supposed to be up here, but it's not there.
say stop share.
Okay.
And this time we're gonna hit share.
It's right there.
Just say the entire screen.
I know it's. It's not, you know, for some reason that one disappeared. So it should, just on here.
Let's.
Hey, is there?
Okay, so let's make that large.
Yeah, and you have this as well. So this is the new format we went over last time. And so this is the current projected actuals, and there's a bunch of stuff on here.
Eric, can you bigorize that?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, make sure the bottom is updated. So. I'm glad it's not just. It makes me feel better when the tech list knows. It's just. Hey, look at that, it's huge. Nice. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so we want to go to the top of the whole page. Yeah. Yeah. So, the first. Basically, this is the detail to the synopsis all well. So, all the LCFF funding is in here, updated. And it just shows that it used to be $2,439,000 and now it's $2,949,000 for LCFF, and other things have gone up by a percentage, the 2.3% basically. So then there's all the certificated salaries. This is this is what the interim reports look like when we issue those, and you've seen those other really nice and fun to read. This is all the assumptions that go into it, 2.3% absence rate, one new teacher, growth in stirs and PERS, and all those items are in there. And this is the new 255 to 214. And then it shows, now the reason this is lower than I adjusted is because it showed $1 million being spent on building. So that's, but I adjusted that because I had more than apples to apples to figure out if, what the ongoing expenses look like. Same thing here for Glacier. I'll just go to the bottom, there's so many items there. So from 83 enrollment to 95, we had an ADA projection of 80, and now we have it at 92.63, which made the revenues go up. And then 12 student growth, new teacher, and all the different items that are in there too. It goes from 95, 83, and all that. So there's that. And here's this well. So here's the total enrollment currently, 339. 332.212 is our ADA projection this year. And ADA is the enrollment less absences. So the enrollment's 335 less a 2% absence rate, 2.5%, 347.9. That means, versus the 332, our revenues are going up, even at a 0 rate. So enrollment countered, even if we didn't get 2.3%. You have 0% COLA, you still get the same numbers as the prior year, just have more units of volume to get more money from. So, and we have a pupil teacher ratio of 25:1. So for every 25 students, we should hire another teacher. That isn't always perfect because sometimes the last teacher has like 12 You just, but that's the idea. So we can't be over 25, so we could never have an ADA that was higher, that would make our pupil teacher ratio higher than 25 to 1. And we never do, so we're always right on that. That's it. That's a lot, I know. Any questions? I mean, even in terminology and all that sort of stuff. Like I say, it's a interesting year, but that's why I would have done more documentation or request one for you guys to approve. But because of the uncertainty, it just happened. So we'll address that next year and see. So we're always behind the curve. That's just the way it goes. But we do have nice, healthy reserves, which is what we must have as a charter school. We are non-for-profit, so we are a business in essence, a not-for-profit business, and we don't get paid out of anything. So we must not for So we can't be lower than, we always have to have good reserves, and that always saves us. So even with Mike's going to talk about AB 84 coming up, which has some stuff in there, some bad stuff that might come down the pipe. It probably won't, from what I see, it wouldn't be effective this next coming year, but the year after. So we'll have some adjustment period to go through if that passes with all of its bad stuff. But at this point, we're looking good.
So if I could, just for board's sake, so as Jody mentioned, May revise, we're expecting the new data is coming in all the time, and for the governor to give a even more clearer picture going forward for the coming year. And so we're talking about budget assumptions for the coming year without that information.
Yep.
So by the time we meet again in June for hopefully our final meeting of this school year, we'll have those adjustments that are going to be built into because at that meeting you will be adopting a budget, right? Well, so the thing is we're going to be on agenda here asking for you to approve contracts for next year for our teachers, because we have to do that now. And again, we're having to do that now before we actually have all of the built out picture of what the budget will be. So this budget is projected, but it's as good as we can do right now. And so that's the deal. We're going to be bringing to you contracts before we have an adopted budget, which is obviously seems cart before the horse, but that's just how it has to end up working. And
Which has the effect of making me always very conservative.
right.
If we're looking at contracts before the final mayor, and the mayor revise isn't even final. It's a revision of the January one, and then when the budget's actually created by the legislature.
And their due date on that
There's another month and a half that goes into that. So it's like, and in this day and age, with all the rock
you will be in our final meeting approving a budget for us, because by law we have to do that. But it will probably be before the state has approved this final budget.
Yeah, and school districts are the same thing. They're dealing with that same issue.
Yep.
And we're used to that being the same issue, and it seems, oh, but this year's so unusual. I have they all. Every year seems to be like, oh, but this is a special year. In this case, I think that, what's interesting is you've seen the stock market's like getting back to where it was on April 8th. And that's crazy. And that's interesting, right? I mean, all that, and now it's back, and stock market has a huge effect on our California budget because it's very progressive. And so it has this, the top 1% pay 50% of the taxes. So if they don't do well, something like that, it's almost 50, but it's very close to 50, I think. If they don't do well, we don't do well. So we want them to do well for all of our schools until they change the whole way we tax in this state. So hopefully that was good. I was really worried about it before. It's still am, but at least that's got, it's getting a little bit more, still at a loss, but not at this massive 15% to 10-15%. But that's it for me for now.
So so we covered a lot of ground. I'll just suggest and then proceed as you desire. And we have action item for salary schedules, and we have pay contracts and all of that, so you can just take it through at some point.
Want me to explain this? I mean, when you get to that,
how would you like?
nice.
Well, I feel like we covered basically everything in action item 10 and 12 already. And then, so we just want to go over the information for 11 at the same time, and then we can just go bang out.
Sure.
Sound good? So Jody, if you could just cover the employee paid contracts,
Okay.
give us that information and we'll vote on everything.
Sounds good, sure. So, it's doing the same thing, but you have it in your packet. Okay, so this is a synopsis of everybody that works for Western Sierra by school. So it gives what their FTE, it'll say, like in this case, advising FTE, advising certificated teachers, 9.8 total, and then it lists every person. And then it has their FTE, and then it has adjunct FTE by person, and then it shows classified teachers and so forth all the way down. And so, interestingly, because of the changes, the other thing we do, lots of detail, please ask. We have 3 schools, and because our administrative staff oversees all 3 schools, we allocate those costs based on the enrollment. And when enrollment changes, the allocation changes. In this case, it has changed, again, because of those enrollments I showed you before. So you'll see like certain people are in here, like Mike and I are 37% for Mountain Home. That's because they represent 37% of the ADA in total, and so forth. So some people are split 2 ways. Brian Donker here, he works for both schools, Glacier and Mountain Home in Oakhurst. So he's 73% and 27%. So you'll see all that stuff goes into this to come up with a total FTE of 18.61, and then total salaries 1,508,317, and benefits 704,794. So and then Glacier.
If there's any clarification, we presented this synopsis this way for many years.
Yeah.
But for our newer members, if you need clarification on understanding this, please feel free to speak up. This is trying to take a whole lot of information and pull it into like a page.
Otherwise, you'll be going every single person everywhere. These totals balance to the budget. If you add up the budget figures for those, they are these items here. And then the FTE is not on there, but it is a separate issue that comes up.
FTE, again, you probably all know this, but just to make sure, means full-time equivalent. So
Full-time
one
equivalent.
FTE is 1 full-time employee.
Right, so, yeah, like being on 1 full-time equivalent, I split, 0.37 and 0.13 and 0.5 amongst the 3 schools. And so that's how you do sort of the WSCS-wide administrative staff. And then each teacher, they go 100% to their school unless they're split between schools. It does happen. And then we have to figure out where, what that is. Sometimes they're time cards, which we know it is because it just comes out as they charge. Otherwise, we have to allocate. So same thing for here is Glacier. You see if there's a new teacher. I think we had a new teacher. Yeah, new teacher up here. And then comes out. And it equals the budget, preliminary budget. Now, the most accurate thing in the budget so far, because it doesn't really depend on the LCFF calculator or anything, is this. Because we know we're going to pay people as long as it's approved. And so this is a pretty accurate number. Now, things that can change, you might have like them change the workers' comp rates this year. That can change, but stuff, generally, it's pretty darn close. So here it is for Endeavor. And so I have a new teacher there, and there's everybody that works here. And you can see they're 0.5 because they represent half of ADA. Any questions?
The new teacher positions haven't been hired yet. Do we anticipate hiring them?
We're in the middle of it, right?
Okay.
And so in that
By the
case,
time that this was made, I don't know when you made this, but yeah, that's, the hiring is an ongoing kind of live thing right now.
this was like Friday.
Okay.
So yeah, when we sent it out, exactly.
Yeah, right.
It got finalized. But with the new, what I do is I take the average teacher rate. And then we put that in actually as a little position. in the system, and then it calculates on it. So, this could be, that's the only thing that's like lower or higher, but based on who we get. But it generally ends up being pretty good. It works out with the 5 days, so. Any other questions?
Okay, all right, that was a lot of information, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna vote on some action item related to much of the information we just talked about, but we'll try to break it up and clarify what we're voting on each time and open up space for any additional questions. So let's move on to action item 10, and this is the salary schedules for 2025 and 2026. And that's what we discussed as the 2% increase for the salaried employees. There's no change for the most of the hourly employees except for where it is noted. Is this action item, does this also include the executive pay as well, or is that in what?
Salary separate.
That's separate? Okay.
Yeah, it is on the schedule, so you could repeat it.
Okay.
It is part of the salary schedule. We do it on.
It's sort of like, it's sort of both. So we're approving, I believe, we're approving all salary schedules in this.
Right.
But as a breakout item, we think good practice, and it's probably required that you treat the executive separately with that contract.
Understood. So everyone understands exactly what we're voting on here. Okay, do we have any questions or any discussion that we need to have about the salary schedules? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve the salary schedules for 2025.
Jason Smith, I'll move to approve.
Do I hear a second? Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Number 11, the action item for the employee pay and contracts for 2025 and 2026. And I believe this is something that we have.
The summary that you just did.
Right. So it's all the breakouts for allocations for each school. Do I hear, or sorry, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the employee pay and contract.
Jason Smith, I'll move to approve the employee pay contracts.
May I have a second?
That's me a second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to action item 12, and this is the executive director contract for 2025-2026. And I believe we're approving specifically the pay increase for the executive. This also sort of for the chief business officer or executive director.
It's just
executive director. I'm on the schedule, but it's required for the executive director.
Understood. But we had some information to start back there. Right. Correct. Understood. And so this is related to the salary study that we looked at. So now we're basically approving this as a breakout session, even though we potentially approved it with the salary study. So if there's any further questions about that, we will. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion now to approve the executive director contract for 2025. Do I hear a second?
Jason Smith, I'll second.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the item or the motion, passes unanimously. So now we move on to number 13, and this is the approval of the 2025-2026 annual declaration of need. Fully qualified educators for each of our school sites.
Okay, that's mine, and there's three of these in your packet. The declaration of need for fully qualified educators comes from the California Teaching Commission, and we are required to submit our anticipated need for credentialed teachers for which we might not find credentialed teachers. And so if we need to go to the commission sometime during the next school year to hire somebody to fill a position that requires a credential, and we can't find the right person to hire to fill that, then we can go do a variety of things to get what equates to an emergency credential. You used to be able to just go do that, but in the last number of years, the commission will not approve an emergency credential unless we've already stated it in the declaration of need that we anticipate there might be. If that makes any sense at all. So this then is obviously an exercise of overestimating what you might need. We don't think, we're not anticipating at this time that we're going to need any people without the right credentials for a job. This is not a statement of what we actually think is going to be our experience. It's a statement of, well, who knows what comes up, and you have to have already declared it. So what you have is for each school, so for Mountain Home, you can see that we're saying, we may have 2 people, because Mountain Home is a K-8, you only need a multi-subject credential in there, you don't need any single subject. And so we're saying, we may need 2 people, 2 teachers who may not have a multi-subject credential, and so we put that down in here. Likelihood very low, but we need to say it, we need the board to approve this, and then we send it off to the teaching commission. So Glacier High School, if you look on page 3, there's all kinds of people with single subjects that we're saying we may need. And again, likelihood low, but we need to declare it now. And so we've kind of filled that sheet up with what we think are potential people that we may need to hire, fill positions that don't actually have the right credential. And then Endeavors looks the same thing because Endeavors has a high school component. Those are the declarations of need. They have to be board approved, and once the board does that, then we file this with the county. And if we ever have to meet next year, we're covered.
Sounds good. Any questions from anybody? All right, and I will now entertain a motion to approve our annual declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
Lisa Paczkowski, a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to number 14, the approval of our K2 reading screener. I believe we had information about this at the last meeting.
Yes. So at our last meeting, John Sloas, who is with us in Oakhurst, presented on this item. This is a new requirement that we shared with you, that California is now going to require that every student enrolled in the public school between kindergarten and 2nd grade has to be screened for dyslexia. Is that right, John? Is it dyslexia?
Reading difficulties, but yes, among them dyslexia.
So there has to be a screening. The state approves a number of reading screeners, and John headed a task force of a variety of our staff to review the reading screeners and make a recommendation. And John, you want to speak to that? We're going to ask the board to take action on the task force recommendation.
Sure. So you presented us with 4 options. We looked at them. 2 of them weren't viable just because they were for a whole class. So it narrowed it down to 2 that were one-on-one. Both of them seemed good. We were really quite torn. And so in the end, we went with the option that needed the least amount of professional development, just because we know how busy we are and trying to fit something else in. So the one we chose had the least amount of professional development. And then also whoever the lead is kind of heading this up, it will be, the other one was good. It had Dibbles, well-known, but it just would be a lot of work to get that up and running. So we kind of, the one, and also the one we chose was made specifically for this law. And that's another reason why we chose it. And just because it seemed to be the simplest option for us. And that was kind of simple and good was what drove our decision.
And you are recommending, it's in the packet, you're recommending the reading screener titled Multitudes, correct?
Yes, that's the one we are recommending.
Yep.
Okay, do we have any questions? Here that we do. So at this time, entertain a motion for approval of the K2 reading stream.
Jason Smith, I'll move to approve.
You hear a second?
Lisa Paskowski, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. All right, so that's going to lead us to item 15. This is an information item for the WSCS self-study update. Nancy.
So last meeting, I shared WSC visiting committee feedback and just kind of an overview of where we were at. And now well, first I want to thank the board for participating with the WSC visiting team and visit, and all of our families, staff, and students. Because it was very evident and clear to the visiting team that there is support and love of our schools. And so that was great to hear. And we received official WSC letters. All 3 schools have been accredited for 6-year term, which is the longest term. And a mid-year report, mid-cycle report, no visit. So it's great news. I want to congratulate all 3 schools. And so we have one of the highest accreditations. Good job, everybody.
All right, that's great.
And I'm sorry, one more thing. We are considered a system with WSC now. All 3 schools are officially the same cycle, visit, and self-study.
So instead of 3 self-studies, which is a significant undertaking, now it's compiled into one we sent to them, and that's what they were. So
That's great.
All on track.
Great news. Thank you all for all of your hard work and making that happen. Great accomplishment. Okay, now we're on to our reports. We're going to start with the executive director report.
Okay, thank you. So sort of standing report out item is building projects. Starting in Oakhurst, bathrooms are being built, and we have a new septic system and new leach lines, all new and improved and greater capacity, and slab has been poured for the new restrooms that we're adding, and the structure itself is currently being framed. And so that's all great news, that's on track. The other project that's future forward here is the roughly 2,000 square feet addition of classrooms and offices on the backside of our building. And I will be having a meeting with the architect soon. They've drawn up plans, and I've given some iterative back and forth on what we want and all of that. And so hopeful to have the completed plans from the architects here anytime, and then it would be bringing it to county planning and beginning that process for their input and ultimately approval. And so, yeah, so that's good. You could see, you heard Jody, I trust that you caught that in the budget projected for next year, we already have the cost for that addition, $1 million or something like that.
137.
Yeah, so that's built into the budget, it's been planned for and saved for. That's part of when you see these really big reserves that we grow. It's just wise, we think, just like it is personally to keep a good savings. But there's nobody, we don't have any rich uncles that are gonna support us in turbulent times. And also, it is in our reserves that we save for capital improvements. And so that's been saved up for over time. And so we'll be ready as soon as we get those plans out. We'll put it out to bid. It'll be a competitive bid, and get moving on that project. So that's pretty cool.
And non-classified schools don't get funding.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
For it.
Truth.
For buildings and facilities, so we have to say and deserve those choices.
There's no bitterness.
A regular seat from a high school would get that. We don't.
So here, building progress is still moving along with our Westminster. So just yesterday, Jody and myself, and a fellow that we are consulting with named Nick Yavino, who knows people and the process in both city and county planning, very well. And so we're working with him to help us navigate through county planning. So one of the big steps of the process is for Fresno County Planning to give us the clearance to be able to move into a church facility and do school. And so obviously that would raise zoning questions, right? And so there is a conditional use permit already in existence for Westminster Presbyterian Church to operate a preschool. What we're doing is qualitatively different than what the preschool is doing, but it's, close. And so we met with county planning yesterday, and they're starting us on the path of what we're going to need to prepare for to present to the county planning, things that we're going to need to satisfy them, and then look for them approving a modification to the existing conditional use permit. That's what we're hoping, that it's some sort of, a modification to an existing conditional use permit. But that looks really good. So far, so good. Yep. Any questions on any of those? So number 2 item is AB 84 and SB 414. So AB 84 is a bill that I will just, for our own purposes, label as hostile. SB 414 is a bill that I would label as friendly, but they're both addressing the same need. So, as you are probably aware, there has been various news stories over the years of, different charter schools at different times getting off the straight and narrow path, and then basically defrauding the people of California. And that's rare. This is not the definition of charter, but this has happened. Happens also in public schools, by the way, regular district schools also. But there has been misconduct that has defrauded the people of millions of dollars ultimately. And so a couple of years ago, a report was commissioned from the Fiscal Crisis Management Team in conjunction with the Legislative Analyst's Office, the LAO, to do a deep dive into charter school, particularly non-classroom-based charter school reform. What needs to be done? What's the status of those schools? What needs to be done? What are some recommendations? So it had no control and to make change, but it was to make informed, wise advice for change. That report came out about a year ago. Jody's read through it. I've read through it. I was not excited to see what it was going to say, but lo and behold, actually, I'm in great agreement with most of it. I think it was very well done for the most part, and it was excellent. So these bills are both subsequent to that report. SB 414, friendly bill, is a bill, obviously, it's an SB, so it's originating out of the Senate side of the legislature, is taking recommendations from the report. It's had lots of key input from the field and is presenting a bill that's going to address a variety of needed reforms in regards to auditing and accounting and fiscal accountability within schools. So it's a good bill and stuff that we see come right out of the report. AB 84 originates out of the Assembly, authored by Senator Marisucci, or Assembly Member Marisucci. This is like an omnibus bill. It's got everything, including the kitchen sink, thrown into it of not liking non-classroom-based charter schools very much. And so, there's a variety of things in AB 84 that are distasteful. Probably the most significant issue as the bill stands right now is that it is calling for a 30% across the board cut in revenue for any non-classroom based charter school. And so, that's what's out there, and these are making their way through the legislative process in Sacramento right now. So right now, within charter world across the state, there is mobilization amongst charter supporting people on these two bills. And so part of the strategy here is that SB 414 is being run at the same time as AB 84 as the alternative. And so we don't know where these bills are going to land. These are just bills. Most bills, I think, die before they ever see the light of day. And so we don't know where these bills are going to go. And once it makes, if the bill originates in assembly and it finally makes it through the whole assembly process and passes, now it's got to go over to the Senate side, and there has to be, it has to now be mashed up over there. And then that has to be, reconciled between the two houses, and then it's got to make it through the governor's desk. So we probably all have some sense of that process. So that's out there. We don't know where they are. There may be some call to action to support SB 414 or to express your thoughts on AB 84. We can't do anything officially through our normal channels. We're nonprofit and we're a school, so we can't use like ParentsWare to send out notices to families about what we think about these bills. We can send out something to families and say, hey, there's two very important bills that affect charter schools that we think you should be aware of, and here's some links that we can attach. If you're interested to learn more, you can go here. We can do that, and that will probably be coming soon. Hoping for families to get involved and speak up for what they care about. That's anything we should add. Anybody about those two bills?
No, I think you did a good job.
Yeah, I just want to say 414 is also full of very difficult things.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a free ride. No.
Because it's the idea is we want to make sure the schools that hold our shenanigans can't do it, which also puts lots more rules and regulations in it. You know how that works.
And the good thing is that largely those are things like that we're already doing.
Yeah.
That's the happy news. As a charter person, I don't want any of that stuff because we keep a clean house. But yet, because others haven't, now everybody has to invite more rigor. But there's good processes and practices that are recommended in SB 14 that, again, in large measure, we're already.
And we're happy to have it because we don't want these things.
We do not want these guys.
It tends to be politically bad for us when we're painting the same brush as bankers. Right. So we would be more than happy to take on the extra burden of 414 to get that
To make
fixed.
everybody play the right way.
Yeah, the other one seems to just be rehashing a bunch of stuff we've already debated in the past.
Let me ask, and I think you touched on it maybe a little bit in your budget presentation, but if the worst case, scenario when all the things that would be most difficult in AB 84 become law, how are we situated to navigate that?
Well, we'll have, Mike, you want me to talk, Mike? You go, please.
Well, Jody will fill in the factual details. In general, Jody's been running a lot of scenarios, and we will survive. So the 30% cut that's a kill bill, and that's what it's intended to be. It's intended to put non-classroom-based charters out of business. That's what it's all about. There's scenarios we can survive. What those scenarios include is increasing our enrollment because students pay the bills and tightening up on our staffing. And so that may mean that staffing ultimately gets tightened up and reduced a little bit and numbers roll up and we just have to run a very, very tight ship. But it is doable should that take place. The worst scenario that we can imagine right now is the 30% cut. By the end of the time the bill even makes it through, even if 84 passes, that doesn't mean that everything that's in the bill currently, it's all negotiable. And that number could come out or it could be reduced. It also could be increased. But yeah, so that's just the general idea. We will survive. Our full emphasis right now is to be a part of whatever coalition is speaking out in regards to what's actually in this bill and what it will do.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a pretty maneuver, but if it becomes effective July 1st of 26, we'll have 1 year to ramp down for that, so to speak. Because what we would have to do is we would try to grow with more students that are not as classroom intensive as the current one, so we have our core of those people, so first come, first serve sort of an idea. You get the classes if you're early on, and we do, we have that, it's not a track, but it's a concept. What people who come on after that would be independent study utilizing our advising teachers, but not necessarily have on-site classes.
So if, for instance, if we could roll up at Endeavor 100 students, and I don't know what the number is, but for instance, roll up 100 students, but those aren't, we don't have any more space, because now we're shrinking in everything for resources, right? We can't afford more. So in that case, those 100, there's no room for them here. So that would be independent study online, and so we would have to be thinking, how can we best augment and improve those sorts of educational opportunities. And if they're, that's.
Yeah, it's a different scenario, it's not our model it's a form of our model, but it's not the basis.
It's not the
We
core.
normally, there's classes on site, there's all sorts of menu. In this case, that one menu option would be filled up, and so they'd have to do online stuff, more independent study.
There's been schools across the state, by the way, we've not done this, we've never run any sort of tiered sort of school tracking.
Yeah.
But there's been plenty of schools who do like partial day programs and then only independent study. There's a lot of that sort of thing. And so some students come in and they want to be part of a partial 3-day-a-week program, and they're still independent study, but they get to be on site and they're doing this sort of instructional in-person thing, while others don't want any part of that, they just want independent study, and they really run those students through the school, 2 different ways. We've never done that. We've always had all educational resources, goods and services available to everybody. Obviously, it's our preference, it's who we are. But in something like this, one possibility is that we have to consider, maybe there's more students who want to be independent study and engage with what we have there and not necessarily on site.
Yeah, and still get the advantage of our advising teachers. It is a valuable commodity to be able to offer. And field trips and things like that. So we would be able to offer that. The other side of it would be facilities. We'd have no money for facilities, period. So we would stick with what we have, not grow, not build, and then just eke it out. And because of our reserves, and the fact that wouldn't be utilizing them, if we know that it passes this year and it's got the 30%, we would then not be doing the other things that are facility related. And then as a result of that, we could probably within a year get to almost, maybe not break even that year, but our reserves will carry us for a couple of years until we get to parity with this new system and come up with clever options. But that would give we'll survive because of our reserves. And then we will utilize them, and then that would be sort of the road. So I've come up with all sorts of possibilities for that, but it does work, but it does require growth and a non-facility based model.
Sounds like it would have a significant impact on the way in which things are done.
Yes.
Yeah, the tightening up of all sorts of things, hiring, all those things would be effective because we'd now be going in the direction of this, this way of doing it. And so the person we would hire, other people that would come along would be a different form. Also, technology, we might utilize technology more, having synchronous classes that are actually put out, like have a student be in class one day and on a Tuesday, but on Thursday they get that another student's in class on Thursday.
Right,
But they go online and
It's
get their class.
very in flux, but like right now, obviously, many of our classes are 2 days a week. So then in this scenario, maybe they're 1 day a week in person and 1 day, delivered virtually. And so that you still are able to get kids into these classes and live and with you, but part of their instruction is going to be delivered virtually.
So they're self-contact, but we can use the facility more efficiently. So, yeah, we've been running through lots of scenarios like that. It's sad that it would alter us, but we don't die.
I can we put a lot of thought into it, so.
Oh, yeah, Jody's, been losing sleep, so, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as this thing sounded like it was, we have to always have 2 or 3 defensive positions.
Understood. Well, thank you for the update. We'll continue to keep an eye on what's happening.
So hey, on a lighter, happier, really cool note, I think at least, we did for the first time up in Oakhurst, we did what we called a community leader meet and greet. And the purpose of this was to reach out to sort of key leader types of folks in our community. And who are these key leader types of folks? They are elected school board members, elected state level officials that serve in our area, superintendents, school principals, business leaders, service club folks, emergency service folks, pastors. And so we sent out these nice looking, glossy, colorful invitations to come to a meet and greet. We originally were going to call it a mixer, but we thought that might imply adult beverages. And it's on school sites, so we didn't call it a mixer.
I had it part of my slideshow, so I just brought it up.
Oh, very good. So we invited these folks up, we got the building all cleaned up, and we brought in some nice catering. And we had them for about an hour and 15 minutes. It was a great evening to run through, here's who our school is. And we told them from the beginning, and we told them at the end, we're here to make friends. That's what we're here to do. We want you to know us, and we want to know you. And why? Because we're hoping that we can discover some partnerships for the good of the youth in the Oakhurst community. That's what we're looking for. How can we strengthen partnerships for the service of our youth in our community? So that's what it was. Really cool vibe. We've gotten really great feedback. It was a fun evening. Total success. Love it. And we almost stuck within that hour and 15 minutes. So, cool night.
It's a lot of fun. I was able to come for.
Yes, and you were. Thank you, Ian, for coming up.
I wasn't able to stay the whole time, but I had a good time on it.
Yeah, thank you for coming up. Appreciate it.
Appreciated the information. All right, I think that does it for you, is that correct?
Yeah, that's probably Jody too. I think he was.
Do you have
I
any
think a little
more?
bit more later for the budget update, but we can make that short.
It's nice.
You have more to do?
It's on the, is it on here?
Yeah, so if you want budget, you're up next, so if you have more budget stuff.
Yeah, see, on the CBO report, it's the budget update you already have it in your packet. It's the same as it was last time. That's it, that's my report.
All right.
I think that's my favorite report.
I wanted to be able to say that.
All right, so we'll move along to the Oakhurst staff liaison report. Mr. Slopes, you got this.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see. Okay, can you hear me okay and see that okay?
We can hear you and see you. And,
Okay.
share the screen.
Great. So, okay, so we recently, Madera County does an art fest, and so students can enter art. And so Hannah Ferris, who she won the statewide contest last year, and so she won first place for still photography for grade 7 through 8th on May 10th. And the piece is called Nickel Creek Falls in Mount Rainier National Park. And there is a picture of her with the superintendent of schools of the county. And so she is really quite talented when it comes to photography. And she's an 8th grader. So I wanted to share, I'm sorry, does somebody have a question?
No.
Okay. So 8th graders went to, our traditional trip to Catalina to see Catalina Island Marine Institute. And there we are out in front of their dining hall, and we did this April 28th through the 30th. So it's Endeavor and Mountain Homeschool. And there's your fearless leaders. So we had 4 teachers this year, and so sometimes my daughter went, but sometimes we have parents go. But we had 4 of us who went, and we had 34 students. And so, they do snorkeling, kayaking. So we did some things that we've always done. I had a junior at Glacier tell me that her core friends for throughout high school were those friendships she made at Catalina. So that was kind of cool. And so this group, it was interesting. Some of them weren't too excited about snorkeling, but they warmed up to it. And like my daughter, for instance, was committed 3 months ago, not getting into the ocean with sharks. And she had a great time. So we did, like I said, a lot of things that we normally do, teaching them how to stand up with flippers and walk backwards to get into the ocean. Very, it's camp. So you sit around the round table and laugh and have fun and have camp food. We did night snorkeling, which is quite a challenge. And so the leader has green, the kids have red, little glow things that go on their snorkel, and then like the chaperone had blue. And I mean, this year the clarity wasn't the best, but just getting into the water is quite an adventure because not a lot of human beings have ever snorkeled in the ocean at night. Um, so we had night snorkeling. Now the kids, they were like, we had a third snorkel plan, and they were just like done. So we were like, hey, we did it twice. We, been there, done that. So we asked if we could switch. So we did some things we've never done before, and so which really turned out to be a great thing. And so they had rock climbing. They did low group. They call them low ropes. I call them initiatives where they do team building activities, and then a hike. And so that was really a great experience. And then the last night we did squid dissection, which like the you get to the ink sac, and then you have to give yourself a mustache. That's kind of what, or not everyone does that, but the kids had a great time with that. Um, so it was one. So this is the Mountain Homeschool group, and there's Mrs. Hill. I'm taking the picture, and so they really had a great time. Um, Also, so Glacier, the biology class, they went to this is their annual trip to kayaking, and they did this on April 10th. And let's see, I had a little write up of what they did. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Um, mm, So, I mean, they met with a naturalist. They had kayaking in the morning, and then they had lunch on the beach. And so like I said, this is their annual trip to go kayaking. Yeah, let me read this real quick. So, yeah, so on April 10th, the Glacier biology class took part in the annual kayaking trip to Elkhorn Slough. Students took a 3-hour naturalist-led tour of the slough to experience the ecology of the area and study keystone species such as the otter. The day ended with a picnic on the beach. Fun was had by all. Um, so here is another picture of them. Glacier students. Okay, so some things that are going on here at Mountain Homeschool. So we're right in the middle of our testing. So this year we started with state testing first. So we're trying to wrap that up and then get to the NWEA. And so Tuesdays and Thursdays have been our testing day. So, and we are very appreciative of our families who come in and do this because it is important that we do the state testing, but also, especially with the NWA, we're collecting data and we're looking, because we do it at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, and then we're looking for that growth. And so it is rewarding to see kids like, wow, you are doing, you're really reading now. And so there's with the little ones, K through 2, we will generally do one-on-one NWA testing with them so we can hear them read and see exactly where they're at. And the other thing we're doing is we're getting our files all together, all the portfolios, and we are doing our in-house audit and going through all of our files with a fine-tooth comb so that on the last day of school they're all in a box and waiting for the auditors. And then we are meeting with families, our end of the year meetings, wrapping things up, getting them curriculum for next year so they're all ready to go. So next year, we'll meet with new families first who don't have curriculum, and then our existing families will be all set, and we'll just, away they go the first day of school. So here's some things coming up. We're going to go to Calvin Crest. We'll have a day at camp, and this is I worked at Calvin Crest for years and years, and so. So we'll go up and do trails, and then we will have a sack lunch, and then we'll have climbing wall and boats and archery, and so that's been a fun trip. We have students going to Sacramento on the train. Of course, you can see the promotion and graduation coming up, and Mr. Hagan might be talking about some of these other things. And the last day of school is June 11th, and the last teacher day is June 12th.
Can you hold on a second, John?
June 6th, I think, is our graduation date. Is that the same? Do we have the same?
No, we have different graduation day.
Oh.
I think,
Did I put the wrong date?
yeah, it's June 5th is the graduation date.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Yep, I put the wrong date. Sorry about that. Yes. So, any questions?
Sounds like.
Thank you.
Good stuff, thank you.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Hagan, for the principal's report.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, John. That was great. As always, just because these are so memorable, if you really want to scan a QR code at the end, so you can watch this later and just amaze yourself, that's great. So just in case. John highlighted, I kind of started from April on. I missed the last board meeting. I was not able to be here. So I will kind of cover a couple things that are in there. This is just kind of a list of some of the items. We did have a lottery on April 1st. I think we had about 70 students on that lottery for Mountain Home School for Glacier because of the way we are increasing, ideally, our capacity there. Ended up being Glacier still has space, but had a significant number of students. On that lottery, we did have Peach Blossom recently, and all of the students that participated had the highest rating of Superior, and that's just a great event for them to go to Fresno State and just be on a college campus maybe for the first time, and it was amazing. We also had our Glacier Leadership Projects for our Glacier students present on a night, and we have a panel. We had our county supervisor, Macaulay, myself, and some teachers that kind of gave feedback. But it's always a great event to just see all the amazing things that our students are doing in the community. Mr. DeCarly did a jump rope contest. More than 300 students participated in that, and we had a variety of students that were able to complete within I think it was a minute. Our very own Mr. Sloas completed 131 jump rope. He's the champion of staff, I think this second year running, and he trains for that highly. We had a math tournament with Madera County. Our students did very well in that. It's always great just to see students so excited about math, and Mrs. Meeks organized that. In addition, Mrs. Meeks, before that actually had the academic pentathlon, which is another county competition. We actually took first place in the super quiz. It's all in Madera County junior high schools. And then Hope Judd won medals in all 5 events. So there's 5 categories. She got gold in 4 of them and silver in the 5th. So she did very well. We're very proud of all the students that participated there.
I think that equals smartest girl in the county.
I think so. We had our Glacier Prom, which we shared with Endeavor. It was a really fun event. It had a kind of a 50s theme. And we bring them in, we feed them and a nice dinner, and then I actually teach swing dancing for a period of time, mix them all up, and then we have regular dancing for the rest of the event. I don't know if when we were here last, if we mentioned the academic decathlon, they for the 4th time won county and went on to the state championship. And then Noah Mellon, who's right here, actually medaled with a bronze in speech at the state level and interview also. So that was exciting to have our teams do that. Now we transition to our ROV competition. We had these are basically all Oakhurst and Endeavor folks here. We had a large turnout. This is our competition that we do with our underwater robotics. We have both Endeavor and Mountain Home and Glacier. Here's some pictures. What's kind of neat, this is one of the judges right here. And he actually is a former Glacier student of ours. And he was judging, and he actually was part of Clovis Community last year. He formed a team, got funding, and they took first place at the international competition at the pioneer level, and brought a lot of attention to the Central Valley. I was talking to him, he just got an internship. He's going to the Antarctic to do, be part of the Alvin, submersible, thing going on. So it's really fun to not only see a former Glacier student that's really doing well.
Well, Mountain Home.
He started Mountain
He was
Home.
with us all the way through, stem to stern, and was with us at the beginning of starting ROV when he was just a little doinker. And it was actually his mom who brought the idea to us. Hey, how about this ROV thing? And it's really cool because it's become such a legacy prominent program for us. And we've had numbers of students go through our program and then on going into engineering programs later.
So it's been really fun just to have that. This student and her team, their ROV malfunctioned a day and a half before the competition, so they had to build a whole new one in 1 day, basically. And they actually did quite well. These are just some more pictures of some of our different teams and just kind of the event there. In terms of this team, the Navigator Team Neptune, they took first place in engineering and communications. And then Mountain Home took second place in engineering and communication at the scout level. Mr. DeCarli, also, we've been doing a PE day throughout the year on the days that I have my staff meetings. The very last day, he did he's been doing this whole passport thing where if they go there, they get stamps, and then they do this big, they had a goal for them, and that was we had our last PE day. Mr. Cox already talked about this. I thought it was a great event, got a lot of feedback, got a lot of connections with the community. Staff had an opportunity to take them on a tour, one-on-one. And then Mr. Cox started sharing a little bit about our program, and then some of our students and staff kind of highlighted some of our different programs. I think the most powerful thing was the students talking about our program, and just the impact that certain teachers had, or just being part of Mountain Home and Glacier. And then we also had student parent testimonies, which are also, I thought, really powerful. And then we kind of concluded with them asking them to fill out a form, just kind of give feedback, and then if they had ideas of how to connect with our community. These are just kind of a quick upcoming events of things which I think, so these are some of the upcoming events. Mr. Sloas is organizing a Calvin Crest field trip on May 22nd for Mountain Home. We're also going to the Sacramento. We're taking the train. It was originally a 4th and 5th grade field trip, but we're actually, now we have some space. We're including some other from 3rd grade on that. Our drama class is having a premiere night, which you're all invited to on 6/9. It's actually, the time has been determined. It's at 4:30. They've been creating basically 4 short movies, and we're gonna have it, make it like a red carpet thing and make it kind of fun there. We're also doing out of the water park, which I believe Endeavor's also doing for both Mountain Home and Glacier. So we have a lot of events. Final thing that's kind of mixed emotions for myself, Mrs. Friesen, who began as a parent with Mountain Home and Glacier High School in 2003. So she started teaching for us in 2012 as a writing instructor, and then in 2015 she officially joined as an advising teacher. She's taught English classes and our leadership class, and she is retiring at the end of this year, and she's going to be well missed. That leadership class, one of the students recently just shared in that meet and greet, he's like, he wished he would have done it sooner because there's never been a class that has been more like applicable to his life in actual like skills of outside of school. And so just really a big thank you to Mrs. Friesen, and we're going to miss her.
Yep.
I think that's it. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go with Nancy.
All right, Nancy, you're up next. Let's hear what's going on in Princeton.
All right, we'll present from here, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first few slides are from Grace's staff liaison report. We want to thank our entire Endeavor community for making last week's Staff Appreciation Week amazing. We had coffee delivered to us every day and a number of wonderful treats like homemade cinnamon rolls, which were my favorite, and even family brought us lunch one of the days. So thank you for making our week special. The high school students, and I believe it's combined Oakhurst and Glacier and Endeavor, just visited Columbia College. So we had a great turnout. We were able to explore yet another campus this year. And our biology and chemistry classes were able to attend our Chaffee Zoo, our Fresno Chaffee Zoo, and participate in behind the scenes labs and also a tour. Okay, so in our all grade news, we have right now currently an art exhibit in the East Building with our Endeavor to Shine theme. We have the display of a variety of art through the month of May. And that includes also, that's all grade levels submitted their work to be exhibited here, and including our photography art students. We had our STEAM fair, which was a lot of fun to watch the students talk about the robots they've made, and even someone present about how being kind to plants does matter. And we had our youngest presenter yet, Miss Ellery Hervada, TK student, who analyzed the different types of papers for airplanes and which ones work best. And in the spring, we usually have a theater arts production. We had Oz, and it was a great turnout, great event. Students were able to be creative, including creating props. This year, they did amazing in that as well. In high school news, we have our computer science one class here featured. The class spoke with a software engineer from a company called Tilty. I don't know if I'm saying it right. They learned how computer science helps in the field of robotics and engineering computer chips. It was kind of neat for them to be able to connect with a person who has a career in this field. In art, our art students, our advanced art students attended, went to a pottery studio where they were able to create some amazing pieces. They did prepare ahead of time and were able to learn some of the basics before they launched into this new medium.
Is that at Fresno, Nancy?
This is in Fresno, yes.
Hey.
Yeah. In the sports area, we have our Endeavor Girls Soccer team here, just like a first Endeavor Soccer girl team ever. They did amazing. And then our first ever Endeavor Boys Soccer team, they also did amazing. Few seniors this year, and they concluded the soccer season with a senior banquet at the Tettleton's house, and it was well attended. Students were so happy to have been part of this. Here are some honorable mention photographs from our photography students that entered the California Streaming Digital Contest. So we have wonderful pictures here that they've submitted. And our English class had mock trial that they do every year, and so Friar Lawrence was found guilty of second-degree murder. Murders of Romeo and Juliet. They were guilty, and we had the prosecution, defense, and it's always a fun class.
Glad somebody finally brought charges in a second.
I know, it's been a long time coming.
Yes. The English 9 students got to decide there. We also had our high school leadership presentations, and we had guest speaker Denise Guerrero from Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. She works with the teacher induction program, and you can see some of our presenters there. It's always a great night to highlight the wonderful things that they're doing. The elementary world, we have our junior high ROV team compete, just like Eric Hagan mentioned. Our junior high team, Meadow Sharks 3.0, competed in the May ROV regional competition, and they placed 5th out of the 20 teams for beginning scout. We're very proud of them. And here are some of our 8th grade Catalina trip pictures as well that we did attend with Mount Home School. And our students had a blast doing all the events, the snorkeling, the hiking, kayaking, except squid, rock climbing, all those things that you saw in the previous presentation. It's really, for many, their first opportunity to be away from home and feel some independence, but then challenge themselves to do different and hard things. Here we have our cute little 2nd grade architects. After reading the story, Iggy Peck Architect, the students had to work together as a team to build a bridge out of Legos that would allow students to cross from one side of the river to the other. This is, hike, Way of the Mono hike at Bass Lake that Mrs. Bullock, our teacher, Mrs. Harada's mom, Mrs. Bullock, served as their guide, and she shared her knowledge of the area's flora and fauna with the students, enriching their experience with insights into the local ecosystem. So we are probably one of the last standing schools that do this, but we teach square dancing to our 5th graders. So here you see them dancing, and this has been going on throughout the year as part of their colonial American study. It's always fun to see them learn this. And our junior high Lego robotics competition happened as well, and they were able to get 3rd place.
Nice.
And the robot game, yes, they had a blast. Just want to highlight, we are continuing to do our community service project with middle school students. They go to the Grove where they bring music and they spend time with the residents there. So they had a special day where they had Emily Durango playing the flute, Patrick Contreras playing the violin, and Patrick Contreras is he's a renowned violinist called Violins on Fire, who took time out of his touring schedule to play for us. So it's always great to see our students giving back to the community in this way.
Great.
And then I want to give a shout out to Delisa Coots for managing our fundraising for the year. We raised over $2,700 through a variety of fundraisers. And so we have made some partnerships with different companies that have helped us along the way. And the funds raised have helped us with field trips, both for elementary and high schools, prom costs. They also help our grad night, our graduate students go to grad night. And then some of the pizza parties that we do as incentives for testing time, for after testing. Upcoming events, as I mentioned, throughout the month of May, we'll have the art exhibit in the East Building. We are hosting a senior lunch meeting. May 23rd, we have parents involved in planning for a special day for our seniors and to be able to officially give them their cap and gown and instructions and have a short meeting with them as well. We will also have high school yearbook signing party, May 28th, and benchmark testing. High school students are also ending the year with a bowling activity. And all of our grade levels are invited to attend the Island Water Park and the year festivities. And then finally, we have a big day, Friday, June 6th. We have all of our end of the year events combined on one day. At 10 a.m., we'll have the kindergarten graduation. At 1 o'clock, the 8th grade promotion. And at 4 o'clock, our high school graduation, all on June 6th at the Fresno State Concert Hall. And you are all invited. But let us know you're coming because we do need ours. And that is it. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank you, Nancy.
thank you all. It's always good to hear what all the kids are doing and all the great accomplishments. We always appreciate hearing all this stuff. It's the highlight of the board meetings just after the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close. Close.
All right. Our next scheduled meeting is June 17th, 2025 at 3:15 p.m. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Jason Smith, I motion to adjourn.
Wait one second.
Lisa Paskowski, a second.
You're adjourned. It is 5:05 p.m.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.